The following show contains adult content. It's not our intent to offend anyone, but we want to inform you that if you are a child under the age of 18 or get offended easily, this next show may not be for you. The content, opinions, and subject matter of these shows are solely the choice of your show hosts and their guests, and not those of the Entertainment Network or any affiliated stations. Any comments or inquiries should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening.
To the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
Wake up, America! It's time for the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY.com, West Palm Beach's #1 internet radio station. Here's your host, the Pipeman.
Or maybe Swamp Nut. It's all good. Oh, wow. Hello. Welcome to this episode 6 of season 20 of the Adventures of Pipeman. Woo! Oh, man. All right. So let's bring on some other co-hosts because, the Pipeman is going to be here any minute. He gives me just a little bit of airtime and then he takes it away. But let's bring on some other folks. Let's see Studio Nut join us. And see, just like that, he's not going to do it.
Oh no, because I'm here now. I wanted to see how you would react. Here's a Pipeman now.
See, that's what I mean. Just like that, I seen him come in.
There you go. Well, you know what? It's better. I like being better down here because you can keep that banner up there to cover Rebel's face. Hello. It covers the big forehead. It doesn't look like she has a big forehead.
My hair is up in the freaking. Whatever.
All right, but we can take that away from her face anyway. But yeah, okay. So here's what we're gonna do. Should I be there? Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. That sounds good. Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing great, and. Of course, your bird's going to be part of the show today.
Absolutely.
So I watch these things on socials. They're going all over the place. This AI parrot who does a lot of stuff. The parrot, you got to check it out. You got to go look on socials for these parrots that are like talking to the other animals and talking to humans, or the animals are like, the cat's bothering them and they're screaming, mommy, the cat's trying to eat me, and stuff like that. and then they have the cockatoos that will, in the middle of the night, turn and talk to Alexa and get Alexa to play music and start dancing and blast the music loud.
Volume up.
Yeah.
Volume up.
In fact, Vaughn, why don't you see if you can find something, one of these videos to put up here so Bill can see. Maybe one of the parrots, like, getting mad at the other animals, and maybe one of the cockatoos saying, Alexa, play disco, and dancing like they're in the nightclub. So anyway, yep. Fatty Tumors and Pets. By the way, before we get to that, I wasn't here in the very, very beginning, so I don't know what was said because I had this scenario that was a 5-minute deal with a client that, those clients, Bill, that they want to have control of things, technologically speaking, and then they don't know anything about technology, so they insist on having control, and then they screw everything up every time, or they don't know how to get into something. A little advice for my listeners here, okay? Make sure you remember what your email address is to whatever you start an account with, number one. Because without that, you're not getting into your account. Number two, remember your passwords. But if you don't know the email address, you can't reset the password either. So a 5-minute job that started at like, 7 this morning, just finished like a few minutes ago.
Oh my God.
I'm sure you deal with that too in the store too, with people that they don't take your advice and then they get upset at you because something went wrong by not taking your advice. Is that true? Does that happen to you?
Absolutely, all the time. That ties right into the topic for today, because what the consumers are being told on a lot of technology is one thing, but on medical, on health, that sort of thing, that involves a lot more common sense than the technical stuff on electronics. And there is none.
Well, it's funny too. And when I was putting up making the titles for today's show, because after we have all this great pet stuff, we're going to go into some great business stuff later in the show, and we're going to do ticket giveaways and all. But, I was reading the title afterwards, and I was like, screw it, I'll just leave it like that because, people may tune in just because they think like me. But I was like, okay, so I named today's show Fatty Tumors in Pets, plus you must have a line of credit. My first thought when I see that after I wrote it was, you better go get a line of credit for the veterinarians to pay them if your pets have fatty tumors.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's not what I meant by that, but I guess that was the universe just saying, this is what really happens.
It is. It really is. It's such a sad case. I mean, here we are in 2026, and we can't get out of our own way when it comes to doing anything cancer except raising money for big foundations and big hospitals. That's all we do. We just raise all this money for the search for the cure. Where are they looking? Because I know they're not looking at anything living because the answer is right in front of us.
Right? So what is this with fatty tumors in pets? How does that happen?
Well, one of the big issues, of course, with our pets is the amount of preventive medicine that's being prescribed. And that's in the form of shots and wormers and, heartworm stuff, all this stuff, sometimes up to, just on the injectables, up to 100 different ones in the lifetime of a dog. Then you take and add in these so-called heartworm remedies that don't work. They're not preventative. It says on the box it's not a prevention. But the veterinarian is actually lying to you when they say that. And you're giving, anywhere from 12, from one injection a year to 12, other tablets or doses, if you will, for the lifetime of the animal. And then we're wondering why the life of the animal is only, averaging 8 years now when it should have been over 20.
I have a question as far as that goes. What is wrong with humans today that they don't have common sense? I'm just thinking to myself, okay, if I have a dog or a cat, they survive, especially cats, they survive pretty well on their own. They survive on the outdoors, whether they're domestic or not, playing fine on their own, okay? And, there are dogs in the wild, or if you go to Puerto Rico, there's dogs just hanging out everywhere, places like that. Why is it that humans here don't use some common sense to say, oh, wait, these dogs and cats don't need all this stuff except when they're in our house?
It's, it's a narrative that, of course, has been provided for the last 40, 50 years, basically. And, of course, they took it off the human medicine side, where you have to have checkups. You have to do this. You have to do that. And they believed that the only person that can give advice is somebody that's wearing a white coat. And, it doesn't matter how many letters you have after your name, doesn't make you smart, doesn't make you more educated, not more educated, but, have more knowledge. It just means that you were able to pass a few tests in school. And,
it also means you have the knowledge. It also means they have the knowledge that was given to them. That doesn't mean it's the right knowledge.
That's right. Yeah, it's a sale. I mean, basically, in most cases, doctors, veterinarians are nothing more than drug pushers. Because, unless you get into some of the specialties, which the specialties don't work either, because they're only looking at one body part. You go to a heart specialist, he's looking at your heart. How did I get a heart problem? Oh, I don't know, probably hereditary, probably genetics. Genetics has very little to do with it. We never look at the root cause. That's where the problem lies. And that's where the fatty tumors that come from, basically, it's cancer. However, most doctors, most veterinarians will not tell you it's a cancer. They'll tell you that, this is just a little eruption in under the skin. We can just hack it out. And they're hacking these things out month after month, year after year on an ongoing basis until it finally turns into a hard tumor. And then all of a sudden now they're in panic mode. But they didn't do anything to prevent these from happening in the first place. They actually contribute to them with all these drugs. It's, and of course, when you see some of the sizes of these things, how big they can get, that animal has got to be in discomfort all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But if you actually watch the dog or the cat, they ignore it. It's just a part of life. They're not running to the oncologist.
You mean they're not little whiny bees like human beings are?
No, they're not. No, they're not for the most part. There's a lot of technology out there, starting with food, that actually allow the body to heal and cure itself. Can you imagine that as a concept, that you can actually rebuild your own body?
Wow, what a concept. Yeah, I did that when I reversed the diabetes. Dr. Jafari's like, we're going to rebuild every cell in your pancreas. Okay.
Yep. That's what the body does. And, liver, kidneys. I mean, we basically replace enough cells in those every 4 months to have a healthy liver or kidney. Unbelievable.
So, Rebel.
Yes.
Have the deworming things worked for you?
What deworming things?
The things that the vets are doing to, like, that he's just said doesn't work.
I don't go to vets. I don't believe in vets. I don't have any faith in the medical profession for humans either.
Tell us why that is.
Why? Which part? Why do I not have faith in the medical profession? Because the ADM, AMD, whatever that thing is, they are a governing agency of all people who pay lots and lots and lots of money to study, to have letters in front of or behind their names. And they never follow up on learning. A cosmetologist has to continue to learn every year. A lawyer has to continue to learn things every year. Doctors apparently go in, test once, get those letters, and screw people up so they can make a living.
What do you think about that, Bill?
Well, and there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, obviously, in my 60 years of doing this, it's just been crazy when I look at the indoctrination, first off, that doctors and veterinarians are put into a position, basically the Rockefeller model of only patented medicine, nothing natural. Food has nothing to do with it. Exercise has nothing to do with it. I'm down here, I'm driving over to the studio. I'm looking up at the sky. It's nothing but a checkerboard of chemtrails. It's been that way all morning long. And, what are they, all these poisons that are going into our body, and then they just add more to it. So how can you believe them? Ask them, if you ask them what the cause is, and actually, is this medication going to help cure me? If it's going to cure me, why do I have to be on it for life?
Yeah, exactly. You're on it for life because it doesn't cure you. It keeps you sick. But let's hear what a parrot has to think about this.
Play music.
Playing disco playlist.
Yeah! Party! Mama Guy, what are you doing? It's 2 o'clock in the morning! I said stop!
Round 2.
There's another one. I think this is the one that you had mentioned that he requested.
That's the perfect cockatoo one. That's the exact one I was talking about too. There's others.
There's another one that's similar where
there's
it's
one
like
with a
inside
bunch
the room.
of them, like parrots and cockatoos, and a whole bunch of them they're at the Studio 54. What's the other one you got there, Juan?
Alexa, play club music.
Parrot, go to sleep.
Squawk.
I didn't see that one. Now, yeah, find us the one where the what you can call it, the parrot is like yelling at a cat or a dog or something like that. There's also one that's there's this TikToker that has this cockatoo, I think it is, that is always yelling at them, Bill. Like yelling at the wife, loves the husband. And then he'll come after her wife, and she does it on purpose on the TikTok, obviously, where she puts her feet up because he's coming after her. But he's just running around yelling at everybody. So, while Juan finds that, go ahead.
Yeah, that's. I mean, there's a lot of truth in some of this stuff because some of those birds can get pretty wacky. I know because I've had birds for 50 years now, and they can get out there. I mean, it was funny when we had earlier in my career, I was working in retail at basically a department store. We were in the pet concessions in it, and we would get 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock. Those cockatoos would start screaming, and you could hear them from end to end in a huge store. Nobody could talk, nothing, and there was no way of shutting them up until they decided, hey, I'm done now. It was kind of comical.
They probably do it on purpose. I mean, listen, I mean, I would too. If I was a parrot, I'd be bugging the hell out of you.
Well, they're flocking animals, and of course, because you have a single one, you're a member of the flock, so I'm going to yell at you for not taking care of me.
Right. And I have to say too is that well, see, somebody else is upset. Like, did you not feed the dog today, Bill?
Nope. Absolutely not.
I would say I would never have a bird again personally because I had parakeets and they were the most annoying pet I ever had in my life. They never shut up, even with the thing over the cage, and they would always shit outside the cage.
I used to have a parakeet.
How talented they are to do that.
I know, right? That's truly what a glory hole is, right there. What about you, Juan? What does your fish do?
They swim.
Your guppy.
They just swim.
Does your guppy yell at you or turn on Alexa or anything?
I think one of them yelled at me the other day because he was like up against the glass while I was close by and there was like bubbles coming out of his mouth. So I think he was yelling at me. I just couldn't hear it.
All right.
For the bubbles to come up and pop.
All right. So what about you, Rebel? Do any of your animals yell at you?
No, I keep them pretty happy. So no, they don't yell at me. They like to photo bomb and video bomb a lot, but it's okay.
So wait, you keep them happy, but nobody else.
Oh, absolutely. I have no other time for other people. I just gotta, take care of them.
Because they're the ones that are most grateful. Okay, like
unconditionally.
Listen, as somebody that has 4 kids, okay, it is quite frustrating sometimes when kids think you didn't do something that you did or give it credit to the other parent that didn't do it. Even when there's proof, they still don't believe you when there's proof. The mind is a funny thing. So everybody walking around this earth that has childhood trauma, you wonder if it really is childhood trauma. Maybe it's parental trauma. Maybe the parents are traumatized by the kids. I don't know. But that's why
that's quite possible.
That's why pets are the best, because you know what? No matter what you do, unless you're an asshole, they still love you. Rebel's laughing because she's experienced that. And so, yes, going back to, I have a question for you, Bill. Like you were saying about they're in discomfort, but you wouldn't really know. What do you think, about the whole idea of people that are into fishing say it doesn't hurt the fish? I have a very hard time thinking that if you had a hook in your mouth or you're in your eye or something, it doesn't hurt you. What do you know, Bill?
Obviously, there's sensation there as well. In nature, though, it's just kind of accepted. You're either a predator or you're prey. And that's basically your only two options in the natural world. We're the only ones that try to change that, and we create diseases so that we can create treatments. So, if you're out fishing, you might want, when you hook a nice sized fish, you might want to take it to the trauma center before you, fillet it and have it for dinner.
No, wait. If you take it to the trauma center, they're going to drug it.
No, but it might give you an upset stomach, Rebel. If it has trauma and you eat it, that trauma will be transferred and you'll have gastro problems from it.
But if you take it to the trauma center, they're going to drug it and then you're going to have problems from the drugs.
Well, at least you'll have a good high going.
Yeah, I mean, if one of the things when we look at the food industry, the meat industry especially, is you want to keep that animal that's going to be slaughtered as calm as can be, because if they're excited, if they're being crowded, all of that sort of stuff, it's an adrenaline rush, and that does affect the quality and the taste of the food itself.
Yeah.
And so, when you're looking at the way we used to do things, hunting and fishing, you want as quick of a kill as possible. That can't happen with fish unless you're spearfishing. But on wildlife, deer, wild pigs, any of that stuff, one clean shot and it comes. The system just shuts down. There is no adrenaline rush, and so it's a much higher quality food at that point in time. And of course, that's one of the things that we have to look at when we have our pets and ourselves as well, to avoid getting these cancers, these fatty tumors, and all of that stuff. That we want to eat clean. We want the cleanest foods that we can get. Today it's very, very difficult because of all the additives. We don't have to go to the trauma center for drugs. It's in all the foods that you buy in a supermarket.
Well, and also I saw something somewhere, a booth at like one of the events I was doing, where they had cannabis gummies or whatever for dogs and cats. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're getting kind of ridiculous, because isn't THC toxic to dogs and cats?
It is, and they've looked on all these things, though they limit it very, very strictly. The CBD portion of it is what really does the work itself, because it's basically turning on receptor sites in the body. All mammals produce their own CBD, believe it or not. And it's a whole part of the system, just like the adrenal system. Instead of, the adrenal system kicks in when there's trauma, the CBD, the endocannabinoid system kicks in when there's inflammation. So it's turning on and flushing those areas with nutrients and blood cells and protector cells and, a whole host of healing mechanisms. And it works in most cases, but you still have to have the nutrition behind that. You can't stimulate new stem cells, for instance. We do some other technologies with light patches and stuff like that. You can get healing because we're targeting areas, but you still need that clean nutrition to be able to heal. Let the body heal itself.
And where would be the best place to look for that clean nutrition?
Obviously, I'm my paleo pet to start with, especially if it's for your dog or cat. But you have to look at finding suppliers of clean, foods. I was having a discussion earlier about how, we didn't start out with organic labeling. We didn't start out with pasture-raised labeling, if you will, until they started playing games with adding chemicals to our food, to dog food, cat food, all of that, because then it became a marketing game. And there's no reliability. I mean, we don't know do you have any idea where that vegetable was even grown sometimes? So much of this stuff comes from around the world. It's in transit forever. And yet, we think, it's got an organic sticker on it or it says all natural. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, everything all of a sudden became all natural. What was it before? They're not labeling it as artificial today, which is what it really is.
Well, when Americans go to places like Costa Rica or Europe or whatever, one of their biggest complaints is how quickly the food goes bad. And it's like, hello, that shouldn't be your complaint. If your food is not going bad like it would in the wild, there's something wrong with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you think, you go into the supermarket and you're looking at, let's say, a salad mix. Okay, there's, 5 or 6 different vegetables there. Where did those come from? Each one of those components could be from a different country.
Yeah.
And then they're all just thrown into a warehouse here in the United States, chopped up, rinsed with, I don't know how clean the water is, but, and then packaged, and it lasts for 2-3 weeks in the supermarket. I just saw that one of the organic certified associations has filed lawsuits against a chemical company because they're using a special chlorine mix in those misters that are over the produce counters that's not organic. So there's no, and it's not disclosed. There is no sign that, this lettuce, this broccoli has been sprayed with XYZ. There's just no accountability, if you will. And they get away with it, get away with it.
Oh, yeah. And that's why there's a lot of yelling in every other area because while people are focused in other areas, this stuff can happen. Okay, we had one of the students raising their hand, so.
Thank you. I want to go back to the.
It's a fourth door on the right-hand side.
I want to go back to the fish. Now you say about the fish trauma. Now, what happens when they're catch and release? What is that doing to the fish on a regular basis before somebody decides to keep it?
I think it's making them more food because now you've caught them. They could be bleeding, and now they're dinner.
Yeah,
even though you.
Yep, their natural predators are out there looking. In fact, you see, the videos all the time where while they're on the hook being reeled in, that shark just comes along and you end up with a fish head. Nothing more.
Yep.
It happens all the time.
But no, I was more talking about, you can go to a catch and release place. They only have, say, catfish in the pond. This is the only thing in here is catfish. It's made for catching and releasing. But what happens if it's been caught so many times and then somebody decides to keep it? So how much trauma has that fish been through before you're eating it? And if they're doing that, how much trauma has that held on to? And if it goes into a supermarket or just in your own plate, what is it doing to you?
Oh, it's going to have a negative impact, obviously. When we look at the way, with animals that were caught and released this way, they're going through all these traumas, okay? But they've learned to struggle so that muscle tissue is going to be tough. It's going to be a lot tougher, not going to be fit for basically human consumption at that point in time.
People ought to second guess that catch and release thing.
I think, listen, my idea of hunting deer is I'm going to go and put a bowl of chocolate ice cream out for them. Then they'll be happy when you catch them. and the venison will be really good. No, seriously, I would probably I would say, hey, look out. If I was with people hunting, I'd be like, hey, look out. I say, give the deer a human brain and a gun, and then it's a sport. Or like my best bro who passed away 2 years ago, he used to go hunting for brown bear up in Canada with a Black Widow recurve bow. Now that's a sport because you have one shot or you're dead. Because, you know, like, and you better hit in the right place because those brown bears, you don't want to mess with them. So, tell everybody how they can check out more about My Paleo Pet, how they can check out more about you and your show, your podcast, and everything they need to know.
Well, everybody's got to listen to the Pet Health Cafe every week, live on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. Of course, it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other platforms where we always give great advice on health and animal behavior, people behavior, all of that stuff. Our sponsors, both BioComplete and My Paleo Pet. My Paleo Pet's the retail operation. BioComplete makes the food, so we have everything in-house under one roof that we can control the quality as well. MyPaleoPet.com for online sales as well, and consultations. I'm available through that to give personalized consultations for both your pet and for yourself. Pet parents have got to stay healthy as well. Because if you're not a healthy pet parent, if you don't know what you're doing, you know, your animal suffers. And we don't want that to happen. That's why we have Pet Health Cafe to show where your pet has a voice.
And Rebel, I'm no longer into the whole catch and release thing. I'm divorced twice. I've had enough of it.
Good thing.
Okay, so yes, definitely check out Pet Health Cafe. If you're here in South Florida, go into the store in Pompano Beach, right off of Sample Road, or you could just go to mypaleopet.com and place your order right there. You deliver, right, Bill?
Yes, we do. And we ship all over the country as well.
Nice. So take care of your pet, even if you don't. And it's funny you said about the humans, because most humans I know that are really obsessive about pets, they take really good care of their pets, but they don't take care of themselves at all. And you're right.
Well, that's one reason why we added the farm to table section in the store, because the pet parents were always complaining, my dog is eating better than I am. And I said, I have a program for that.
There you go. So sign up for Bill's program. You'll love it. We're going to be going in a minute to commercials for festivals. We're doing ticket giveaways on for the 2006 Pipeman Radio Tour. Also, stay tuned. Tune in this Wednesday for my live show where who knows and anything goes. It won't be so serious. It may be serious. You never know what you're going to get. But we are going to talk about some big things that are happening for 2026 and are going to benefit everybody. People that have shows on the station, and the listeners. So you're going to want to check out what new stuff we got going on. And then I also want to pay homage today. It is Martin Luther King Day. And so we should pay homage here on the show. I think we should bring Martin Luther King back, kind of like in Pet Sematary. Bring him back, and he could run. Let's see if he runs for president, what happens. I don't know.
It would be interesting.
He was a Republican, by the way. Like, that's the funny part, is I think the roles have switched somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow. But, Rebel, make sure you take care of those pets. And make sure you take care of yourself. And, Juan, don't eat your guppy thinking it's a gummy.
I mean, for breakfast, they might go good with eggs.
I know, right? That's a new thing. I think we should start. Hey, Bill, let's start a restaurant that serves stuff like that. Okay.
There you go.
Guppy's sunny side up.
And I just want to say, stay tuned. Next, we're going to talk about business and why if you have a business, you must have a line of credit. And people think, oh, I don't want to do that, and blah, blah, blah. There are good reasons, and you will find out soon about why having and being a successful business person requires it. And then after the show, if you check out some of my socials, there's going to be some reels with somebody I did an interview with the other day, who is absolutely incredible. She's not only a musician, she's a great artist. She even paints surfboards, and was down here for Art Basel in Miami. Yeah, I can think today. And she is somebody that has some new music that's absolutely badass. And I'm going to give Rebel a test now. And her name is Chloe Trujillo. Do you know who that is, Rebel?
I do not.
Do you not? Do you want? Don't you Google it. I see your eyes.
He's typing.
I do not.
Okay, so that's if you ever heard of a band called Metallica, okay, that's the bassist, his wife, and then I've interviewed her son before. Funny story during that interview I brought up in this interview is that when I interviewed him, he had cut his hair short. He used to have super long hair, and I was like, "What made you cut your hair?" And he goes, "My whole family's long hair. I was rebelling." So now you can rebel by cutting your hair instead of growing it.
How times have changed.
Circle of life right there. And on that note, there's some really, really good bands that are playing in Columbus, Ohio, and in Daytona, Florida this spring. Can you tell them what they might have won?
The Sonic Temple Art and Music Festival returns May 14th through 17th with My Chemical Romance, Tool, Bring Me the Horizon, and Shinedown. Plus, Pierce the Veil, Good Charlotte, The Offspring, Sublime, Godsmack, Breaking Benjamin, Marilyn Manson, and so many more. Sonic Temple in Columbus, Ohio, May 14th to 17th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at sonictemplefestival.com. Welcome to Rockville. Returns to Daytona International Speedway May 7th through 10th with Foo Fighters, My Chemical Romance, Guns N' Roses, and Bring Me the Horizon. Plus Turnstile, Five Finger Death Punch, The Offspring, Breaking Benjamin, A Day to Remember, Godsmack, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville, May 7th through 10th. Passes on sale now for as low as $1 down at welcometoRockville.com.
I can't frickin' wait. And I will be there. Come see me at Sonic Temple or Welcome to Rockville. They also announced a lineup for Incarceration just the other day. Stay tuned. We're going to have more about that in future episodes. Right now, we're going to go to, I had pre-recorded with the resident business expert, Michael Barbarita from Next Step CFO and Powerful Business Strategies. And he's going to talk about lines of credit right here on the Adventures of Pipeman, Positively Pipeman, W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Roll it, Juan.
Hey, you're listening to The Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.
This is the Pipeman here on the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio, and this is the Positively Pipeman segment of the Adventures of Pipeman with our Next Step CFO, Michael Barbarita, who is going to give us some powerful business strategies. So welcome to the show, Michael, and let's talk about lines of credit.
Thank you, Dean. Thanks for having me. So yeah, line of credit. Now, when I get a new client, one of the first questions, but early on that I ask is whether or not they have a line of credit. And about I would say at least 60% of the time, they do not. And that is a huge, huge mistake because as everybody knows, business has its ups and downs. And, poo-poo happens, as you probably already know.
Yeah.
And part of that poo-poo is poor cash flow due to whether it's economic conditions, whether it's just a seasonality thing, whether it's a bad sales week, whatever it may be. There's a million ways to have a cash flow dip, and most of them can be temporary if you manage your cash flow properly. And so, but be that as it may, you must have access to a line of credit. We're not asking you to go out and get a loan. We're asking you to get a line of credit that doesn't have to be used if not needed, and you only pay about $150 a year to the banks that charge it. I know of a couple banks that don't charge anything for their line of credit, so that it's free to use, and that's the end of it. With one fee up front, like $400 up front, and that's the end of it. So, but a line of credit is something that is just incredibly valuable. And a rule of thumb. Here's a rule of thumb of how much, because lots of times business owners ask, well, how much should I get for a line of credit? At a minimum, 10% of your annual sales. At an absolute minimum, I like to try to go for 15%. It depends upon your credit and your situation, but even if somebody should get, let's say a $2 million business should have a $200,000 line of credit, and they can't get it, but they can get a $50,000 line of credit. I make sure they get at least a $50,000 line of credit because you've got to have it. It's very important, and you're not paying an inordinate amount of money for it. You're not paying interest on it until you use it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's a proper way to use a line of credit, and there's an improper way. Number one, it's not an equipment loan. Sometimes business owners go out and buy equipment with their line of credit, and then the bank, who has what's called a zero balance provision in most line of credit agreements. And a zero balance provision means that you've got to zero out your line in a period of 12 months. You got to zero out your line of credit for 30 days. So if you're going to buy equipment with your line of credit, you're not going to zero out your line of credit, and that's going to cause problems. Now, for the most part, as long as you're making your interest payments, banks leave you alone. They let things carry forward. But just wait till there's an economic crisis and the bank is starting to get pressure from the Fed to start exercising their rights under these agreements, like the zero balance provision, and start calling in loans as a result of it. That's what happens. So you got to use your line of credit for cash flow dips, essentially, and seasonality situations. Other than that, you really shouldn't use your line of credit to buy equipment or to fund operating losses. That's another mistake. Now, if you think your operating loss is temporary, that's different. But if you think that then you might go through a couple of years, funding an operating loss to a line of credit, I know it's there. I know you'll probably do it, but it's not a good idea. Not a good idea.
It's like living off of credit cards.
That's right. Stop making profit. There are a variety of ways. We've taught you a lot of strategies in the course of this show on how to go about increasing sales, increasing business, having better pricing strategies, upsells, downsells, cross-sells. We've talked about strategic partnerships. We've talked a number of ways to increase sales. That's what you should be doing instead of funding your operating losses with a line of credit.
So I have a question, too, that probably a lot of listeners are thinking of. Okay, so how hard is it to get this line of credit? Because I would think that it's much harder to get a business loan than a personal loan. And I would think that a line of credit would be very hard to get because they know that you could make the mistakes that you were just talking about. And that puts you as more of a risk. And because it's a line of credit, like if you buy equipment, they don't have a lien on your equipment because it's a line of credit. So what's your advice and information about, how solid a citizen you have to be to get a line of credit for your business?
So if I went to 3 banks, okay, there'd be one bank that you'd have to be an outstanding citizen. Okay, you have a lot of profit. You have to show a lot of profit. They're going to put you through the ringer. There'll be another bank that has moderate requirements. And then there's a bank that has ice cream requirements. For example, let me give you an example of a bank in this local area that has ice cream requirements. You have to make at least $1 or more in your last tax return. Your sales have to be over like $100,000, and you could qualify for as much as $75,000 line of credit. That's the end of the underwriting.
Wow.
So that. Okay, you have that. By the way, these are complacent banks who need loans. Let's call a spade. This is what happens. Okay,
yeah.
When times are tough, those terms are gone.
Yeah.
All right. Then you have those banks that, have moderate requirements.
Well, let's go back to the ice cream for a second.
I like the ice cream.
Yeah. So what? I just go bring them some ice cream and they'll give me the loan. But how do you know which banks are the ice cream banks?
You got to call. You got to make calls because they change. Because it's all about how much business they need, how much, if they need to loan money. That's all it's about. The more opportunities, the more credit lines that they give out, the more opportunities they have to loan money, the more risk they have. And so when times are not as tough, banks get aggressive, just like businesses get aggressive potentially with advertising or, going for it kind of thing with, with their business and taking on extra risk. Banks do the same thing, and different banks at different times do that. And what's very interesting about it is that there's certain banks in this area that I would never do business with, because if you ever go into default, they send the Gestapo after you.
Yeah.
And there's other banks that don't do much at all, Dean. So you've got to you should talk to a fractional CFO, because they know what banks are the ice cream banks in your market. So you should really talk to a fractional CFO about it, because that's one of the things that we know. Now, I know about the New England area, and I have contacts around the country as well. So if somebody called me and they were living in Topeka, Kansas, I could probably help them and point them in the right direction in terms of what banks to go after and what banks to not go after, not pursue.
So now that we're going to go talk about the mediocre and the hard, I would assume that it's a good assumption that the big banks, the like nationwide big banks, are not going to be the ice cream banks. Or am I wrong?
Well, before 2008, you were wrong. Since 2008, the Bank of America they used to give lines of credit out for just forget about tax returns, forget about business profit. They used to give it based on over 575 credit score. You got $100,000. They got murdered. They got so murdered during the 2008 crisis. They didn't even pursue any of the personal guarantees. They just wrote off all of it and said, forget it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had 2 or 3 new clients that came to me because they were in trouble with the bank. Well, they weren't in trouble with as it turned out, but that they had gone in default with the Bank of America during the crisis. And Bank of America just said, we wrote it off. Don't worry about it. We wrote it off. So, but since then, those banks have tightened up, to your point, and more of the, I'm not going to say local banks, but banks that are intermediate in size, say $1 billion to $3 billion in assets. Those banks, some of those banks have real easy requirements to get a line of credit. So you have to shop around, and then you have to talk to somebody who kind of knows the banks.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to go. There might be an ice cream bank, but they come after you with full force if you go into default. So you might want to stay away from that. But
so they're the ice cream truck that gives you the ice cream, and then as you're walking across the street, they run you over.
There you go.
Because you didn't pay for your ice cream.
Right, that's right. But yeah, that's exactly right. You didn't pay for it, so now we're going to run you over. And that's basically what happens. So I think the banking world, you have to be careful, but by all means, you need to have a line of credit for protection. It's just, it's all it is defense. It's not offense, it's defense. And, one of the first things I did when I started my business in 2007 was get a line of credit. And I started with like a $10,000 line of credit, real small. And then, built it up as my business grew. But, it's a definite requirement.
Well, and I think a lot of people don't realize too, and I'm glad you said what you did before about what you shouldn't do. It's not a bank account. Like lots of the people think a line of credit is a bank account. Like, no, it just sits there, pretend like you don't have it unless it's an emergency, kind of like your retirement plan in personal life. Can you have access to your retirement plan? You sure can. But you're going to count that money as gone unless something devastating happens and you absolutely need to access it.
The best time to use the line of credit is when your cash and receivables added together cover your payables and whatever you take out of the line of credit, because that will that liquidity eventually the receivables will eventually become liquid and you can pay down the line of credit. So it's not that's the best way to use it, because sometimes even though your cash and receivables are higher than your payables and credit line, you can't make payroll this week. Because the receivables are just too high. It's just a cyclical thing. It's not like you're mismanaging your receivables. It's just a cyclical thing. So many times, and by the way, lots of times in those situations, your credit line is outstanding for a week or two. That's it.
Right.
But it saved you.
Exactly.
It saved you from going to a credit card, paying 18% or some 25, whatever crazy percent you're paying. It saved you from borrowing it from Aunt Mame, it just, and having, that embarrassment with family, or telling the wife you have to go into Hip Pocket National Bank, to take the money out and put it in the business. That's never, or a spouse, that's never a good conversation.
No, they don't want to do that.
They don't want to do that. So anyway, that's it. And, the way you can reach me is by going to nextstepcfo.net. And go to the contact page on my website, fill out the contact form. And if you have a question about line of credit, you can put the words line of credit in the message section. Be happy to answer your questions.
And go out there and get yourself an ice cream truck. Thanks once again, Michael, for some great advice. And I look forward to a lot more from you in our powerful business strategy segment of the Positively Pipeman. And next week, we're going to talk about something that goes hand in hand with that line of credit, solving cash flow problems. So stay tuned. Come back to hear the Adventures of Pipeman, W4CY Radio.
Thank you for listening to the Adventures of Pipeman on W4CY Radio.